lockup. Right now he's robot-doing Terry Funk in a bionic elbow. Sends him right out of the ring.
Hello, wrestling fans. We're back with another edition of the Shoot Interview Series. Today we're with the flamboyant, controversial Scott Steiner. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Scott, when you first started wrestling, one of the big things was they touched on the credibility as you as an amateur. Can you talk about your amateur wrestling background?
Got recruited to Michigan. Full scholarship, was All-American there, and, probably was the funnest time of my life. And in some wrestling instances too, but, basic college wrestling helped me through professional wrestling, so. But going to Michigan was great.
What was college life like for you?
Well, I didn't go to class much. That was a good time. I still see a lot of friends today. Have golf outings and stuff. So, but it was a good time. I look back and then, there's still a lot of stories going around, but I had a good time. It actually was a great time.
What was the jump in terms of the competitiveness level between like high school, where you were very successful, and then college?
Oh, it's just like going from amateur sports to professional sports. It's no comparison, night and day. It's just another level up. It's guys that were successful in high school weren't necessarily successful in college. It was rough, man. You had to be tough to be a wrestler in college.
And how much success did you have in college wrestling?
I was All-American, so I thought I could do them better, but I didn't. Than I did, but coach, a lot of people a lot of guys didn't get along with my coach. It's kind of a drag, but I look back, I still had a good time.
Did you ever consider a run at the Olympics?
I practiced with the Olympic team when I was out in Iowa. I think it was '84. Actually, my college coach was the first Olympic champion for Greco-Roman, Steve Frazier. So I still keep in contact. He was actually at the golf outing this year, so I trained with him a lot, and he was when I first got to Michigan, he was there, still training. So, but I just couldn't see training that long just for a little medal,
Right.
It
so
just
didn't have the drive to put that much work into.
No, it's like in that when you're in that arena, you were separated, by a point or two from first place and fourth place. It's like either placing or not placing. It could be a point. I mean, look at Kurt Angle. He won on the referee's decision the Olympic championship. It's like that's hard, man. That's a lot of dedication. And at that point, I wasn't. I was kind of burnt out on amateur wrestling. So it just it didn't make sense to me.
What other sports did you play in high school?
I played football. I got recruited to small colleges, like Western Michigan, the MAC and stuff. But I was definitely going to Michigan.
Mm-hmm. What was it about Michigan over the other schools at?
I want to stay close to home. Actually, my high school coach wrestled at Michigan, and and my brother was there, and I don't know, it was a better school, I thought. I mean, plus I liked to coach better, at the time than Michigan State, and I got recruited, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Arizona. I got recruited a lot, but just want to stay home, close to home.
A lot of people that do amateur wrestling, they kind of laugh at pro wrestling. What did you think of pro wrestling before you actually got into it?
Well, I actually never, to be honest with you, I never watched pro wrestling until I was in college, and when it started getting big with, Hogan and the whole WrestleMania stuff. But I don't know, because we only had 3 channels, but I never watched amateur wrestling. I mean, professional wrestling wasn't. It never really interested me,
So when did it hit you that you could make a career out of pro wrestling?
Well, not that I could make a career out of it. as naive as I was, I could. I look at those guys on TV and I said, man, I knew I could beat them up. That's all. That's how naive I was.
So who was the first to initiate getting involved in pro wrestling? You or your brother?
My brother. My brother's 2 years older than I. He went up to Brad Reinigen's camp up in Minnesota.
And so he had a 2-year lead. What kind of feedback was he giving you before you actually got involved in it?
Not a whole lot, because he was traveling and I was still in college wrestling, So I was, still pretty busy. Would actually go on. He was actually on TV a couple of times when we were at name of the bar was Good Time Charlie's. The bar used to bounce at. So, but there was a little bit of contact, but not that much. I had an idea I was going to go into it, but I was still concentrating on amateur wrestling.
So you went into pro wrestling right after you were done with the college?
Yep, started with Dick the Bruiser. Started wrestling with him and the great Wojo, and traveled with Bulldog Don Kent. He lived in Lansing, and he'd drive across, pick me up in Ann Arbor, and we'd go down to Ohio. So it was a good time,
About some of the early memories of those first matches, I think you listed as your first match against Don Kent.
Yeah, my first match was Bulldog Don Kent. He was probably a part of one of the great tag teams in his day, the Fabulous Kangaroos. But he just talked me right through it. It was easy.
If I was to say who your trainer was, would you say anyone other than Don Kent? Was it a few different people that lended?
I picked up a lot of wrestling just watching on TV, and then I trained a little bit with. There was a guy that was running the promotion, Dr. Jerry Graham, then Chris Carter, and it was Calypso Jim, Bulldog Don Kent, the great Wojo. Wrestled with practiced with all those guys, but not a whole. Most of my learning was inside the ring.
What was the first promotion that you started regularly with?
Bulldog Don Kent.
And you were there how long?
I was there probably 3 or 4 months, 5 months. Then I went down to Tennessee for the Jerry Jarrett, and that was the first time I wrestled pretty much every day of the week.
Where was your brother at this time?
He was NWA.
There was and I'm just going to throw it out there. It may or may not be true. There was that your brother actually got you a tryout match for Crockett before you went to Memphis, and the rumor is that you worked. A guy named Tommy Angel, and you broke his nose in 2 different places in your tryout match, and they liked what they saw, but they thought you needed some more seasoning. And
I broke his nose? Oh, really?
2 times in the same match.
I don't remember, man. I know I had a tryout match, but I had nothing.
What do you remember of the tryout match?
The only tryout match I remember was it was against Chris Adams, actually. It was in Oklahoma, I think, something like that. Oklahoma, Arkansas.
So you never had a tryout match in Crockett before you went to Memphis?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was at the.
Oh, it was out in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Oklahoma, Arkansas was something. It was so far back. I don't really try it. Plus, I don't want to remember those days, anyways.
Right. So for whatever reasons, you didn't land Crockett right away. You went to Memphis.
Yeah, went to Memphis. Actually, Eddie Gilbert was either for some reason he left the NWA, and he was booking in Memphis, and then so I went over there.
What was the first impression of the Memphis territory?
Brutal. It was fun at first, and then it was probably my first experience of just drugs. So it was discouraging.
Who initially got you hooked up with drugs and wrestling?
Well, I never got drugs. I'm not talking about me.
You're saying.
Yeah, I mean the people were cocaine and shit. But
right.
I just seen a lot of guys, heard about a lot of guys, but actually I lived with Billy Travis, who ended up dying. Lived with him and his girlfriend. So that's probably my first mistake. But living with him, but Billy was a good dude, man. I like Billy. He was a good wrestler, you know, but just had a problem with drugs, you know. And it's probably seeing that every day kind of like soured me, you know. And plus you hear all those stories too. But Billy was a good dude, but you know, I ended up hearing he OD'd, you know. So.
Could you see it coming? Did he have a real bad problem when you were there?
Yeah, I seen it pretty much all the time, you know. So, but you know, you weren't making any money there, you know. It was brutal. But we were working every day, so that's all I cared about, you know.
Was Jerry Lawler on top when you went over there with Memphis?
Yeah, he was there, but on top of what? Pile of shit.
So Jerry Lawler wasn't very helpful to you in Memphis?
Oh yeah, I got along with him, but there wasn't drawing anything, you know. It's like go to Memphis and you know the crowds, you know. I mean, remember I'd get paid $10, $15 in Springfield, Tennessee.
So what kept you in wrestling with those kind of payoffs?
Just thinking I can make it, you know. No, I mean I had nothing against Jerry. Jerry was cool, you know. It's just that I was just saying on top of what, you know.
Right.
Top of a company that's not making any money or not paying out, you know.
Was your brother doing all right in Crockett, or where you knew that there was an avenue of...
Yeah, I knew there was an avenue, but you got to understand, you know, it's like not a whole lot of people were making money back then, you know. So.
How about any memories of Jeff Jarrett while you were in Memphis?
Yeah, I rode with Jeff all the time. Me and Jeff rode together all the time. So.
Everybody goes to Memphis to learn and, you know, perfect their craft. What would you say was the most helpful part about being in Memphis?
The most helpful part was wrestling every day. You know, we wrestled, even though we didn't get paid. You know, I actually saved money there, and believe it or not. And then, but we're wrestling 5-6 times a day. You know, I mean 5-6 times a week. Which for 10 months, you know, by the time I went back to the NWA, I was ready to go. You know.
Who were the other guys that we would have heard of?
Cactus Jack.
In Memphis, Cactus Jack.
Yep, McFoley was there, wearing that same old black pants with this leopard stripe. You know, he looked the same.
Would you thought he would have made it as big as he did?
Man, back then you can't tell who. You know, you really can't. He never really did have a body. You know, not that necessarily means anything, but when you're in a spot that's low, that low, you know, it's hard to think anybody's gonna make it out.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good time, but then it was like,
got old fast.
Yeah, it's like, what am I doing? You know, but things worked out.
And they market you as a great amateur wrestler in Memphis.
Yeah. But I wasn't, you know, I wasn't really worried about that. That wasn't on my mind. As long as I kept on working, because you know, I knew what my goal was to get out of there. So they could have marked me anywhere I wanted. I just wanted to make sure I was wrestling every day. So, because I knew they were going to call me back up, you know. So.
Was Undertaker? Well, now we call Undertaker. Was he in Memphis?
He showed up one time, a couple times with you faced off against Sid. He was big at the time, you know. I mean, jacked up. Him and Sid. So.
How big were you around this time in Memphis?
It's probably like 225, 230. So. Right on there.
Were you really into weightlifting, bodybuilding at that time?
Well, I lifted ever since freshman year in high school. I really haven't missed a day since, you know. I mean, I might have missed a workout where I put it off to the next day, but because of travel or something. But I really missed a day, you know. So.
What do you find? And this question, I guess, we could answer from the time period when you were in Memphis to now. What do you enjoy more, bodybuilding or wrestling?
What do you mean by bodybuilding?
Being in the weight room. You get more.
No, being in wrestling, you know. So, but you got to understand, I lifted weights to get better in amateur wrestling, not, you know.
Right.
Because you know, it helped out a lot, you know. But then when I was in professional wrestling, that's when I trained to get bigger, you know. Because I always had to cut weight when I was in amateur wrestling.
Was that part of the reason why you didn't want to push the Olympics? You got tired of cutting the weight?
Yeah, my last year I wrestled 190, and I was cutting down from like, 220, you know. So. It was brutal.
What opened the door from Memphis to WCW?
At that point in time, Ted Turner had bought the NWA, and we basically, a lot of us came in at the same time. It was me, Tom Zink, Pillman, a couple other guys. We all kind of came in at the same time within a 2 or 3 months period. So they were bringing new guys in, and then I think they just needed an influx of new talent, Mm-hmm. So.
What about your first impressions of working there? I mean, it must have been
Oh, it was
great compared to Memphis.
Yeah, it was like unbelievable. And I think we were having our first matches against the Samoans. So
even before you got there, the idea was for you and your brother to start tagging?
Yeah, pretty much. We want to see how far we can go with our careers together. So
right.
Yeah, I actually at that point in time I really had no desire to be in the singles. Mm-hmm. So
what was it about tag matches you just liked better?
Just tagging with my brother, and at that point in time we were just going to see how good we could be. Because there's always that unknown.
Right. Did you also travel with your brother? I mean, sometimes it seems like an obvious question, but sometimes when you're tag partners or brothers, you need the time apart. You don't even travel together.
Oh no, it was me, my brother Sting, Lex, most of the time. Most of us were just jump in the caddy and go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun. Back then, thinking back, but.
You guys have a lot of food fights on the road, I was told?
At one time it was me. One time I was just coming back from Italy. It was with Rikishi, one of the Samoans. It was him and his cousin Sam.
I think Paul Heyman might have been.
Yeah, they ended up going down the highway. Actually, remember one time we turned around, we're going down the wrong way on the highway, chasing them, and they ended up destroying their Cadillac, but yeah, we had a lot of fun back then, Nasty Boys were a good time too. We had a good time with those guys.
What about your first impressions of Jim Herd?
I never had a problem with Jim Herd. They came up with some wacky ideas with, the guys that were ringing the bell and what are they called?
Ding dongs.
Yeah, the ding dongs, and some other guys that had the hunchbacks or something where they had to put holes in their mat, and the only way you could pin them if you got them in that hole. But other than that, I never had a problem with Jim Herd.
Did you say generally the wrestlers respected him being their boss, or?
I know some guys had a problem with him, but he was actually, I think, the first guy that everybody had to answer to. So, but I never had a problem with Jim Herd. So.
One of your first successful runs was, against the varsity club. You had the amateurs really showcasing their talent on a professional level. What are some of the memories you have?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Varsity club?
No.
You don't remember wrestling varsity
Cut.
club? All right.
Why, you heard that?
That you wrestled against the varsity club?
Yeah.
It was Dr. Death, Steve Williams.
Oh, really?
Sullivan.
This is cut, right?
Yeah.
Oh, in post-production. Yeah.
Right. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys seen it? Really? Did it happen?
Yeah.
Did it really?
It was when he first
Must have
came-
been short-lived because I don't remember it.
Okay.
You guys seen it, actually? Well, it must have been the shits then because I don't remember it.
How about memories of Terry Funk?
I always got along with Terry. Terry was, I remember his back was bothering him at the time. I kind of felt bad for him, but Terry was a straight guy. I always respected Terry.
I want to talk about some of the tag teams that you and your brother worked against. You worked against the Freebirds.
Yep. Michael and Jimmy Garvin. We had some good matches with them.
Mm-hmm. How about the Skyscrapers?
They were good. They were good too. Danny Spivey now.
Who was your favorite, I guess, tag team opponent that you worked against?
Well, the most fun we ever had was probably with the Nasty Boys and stuff, you know, because we were both about the same age, and we were both, you know, wild, and both just getting into it, you know. So we had probably the best matches, you know, most fun with those guys, you know, in and out of the ring, you know.
Does it help a lot to have a good relationship with the guys outside the ring to put a good match together inside?
I mean, if you're talented, you know, you could be the best friends, but be the shits in the ring. But it helps, but you still got to have talent, you know. But those guys were good, you know. I mean, I thought they were good and they were funny, you know. So outside the ring.
Right. You worked against the Road Warriors.
Yep.
One of the comments I know we were going to ask you about was in his book, Ole Anderson blames you for killing off the mystique of the Road Warriors. Just saying that generally that you guys just, you know, out-wrestled them and kind of killed off the 10 years of credibility they were able to build up by just killing everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's all they did was kill people. They never learned how to, you know. That's what the Road Warriors were. They destroyed somebody, you know. It's like, you know, and they weren't going to destroy us, you know. So it was kind of funny how they put it, but that, you know, what can you do? You know, I wasn't going to get destroyed by them, you know. So
you wouldn't feel like some of your best matches did not include wrestling against the Road Warriors?
You know, some of them, but they want to be King Kong, you know. And at a point in time that worked, but you know, and then after a while, that's basically was their downfall too, you know. So
Seemed like some of the more stiffer matches you had were against Doom.
oh, they were hell of an athletes, man. Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons, I remember when I was in high school, I remember him, you know, a picture of him when he was at Florida State, and Ron was legit, and he was a good athlete, and so was Butch, you know. And those guys were nice guys too. We got along with those guys. Butch was more of the, you know, fun guy. Ron was too, but you know, we'd mess around with Butch a little more because he was more easygoing, you know. But yeah, we had some good matches with those guys.
Where did the Frankensteiner move come from?
You know, I actually thought of the Frankensteiner when I was in Tennessee, but I didn't want to use it because you know, I was smart enough at the time to realize if somebody else saw it, they would use it, and then so I waited till for the right time to where I could put my name on it, and then people would know it was my move that I came up with it. So and now everybody uses it. So
Well, it's good to leave something.
Yeah.
That'll be there forever.
Yeah.
How about you said Lex Luger was a good friend of yours too?
Yeah.
How about some of your early memories of Lex Luger?
Lex was a good guy. He was, you know, he was on top at the time, you know. Well, but so was Sting, you know. But we just all clicked, you know. He was just, you know, we just all got along. I don't know where we all worked out. We always trained together, so that was one of
the four of you had hit the gym together?
Oh, yeah.
Also?
Yeah, we all trained together, eat together, ride next town together. So we had a good time back then, you know. It was different back then, too, you know.
Your style with Rick is you used so many suplexes in your matches and stuff. Were there any opponents that you faced that really just didn't like, you know, bumping so much for you?
No, like, how could you, I mean, we don't want to have a good match, you know? Who's going to be?
Well, you were a little more physical than a lot of the other tag teams before you.
Well, that's what made us different, you know? There wasn't a whole lot of amateur wrestling or incorporated amateur wrestling. I tried to, you know, a lot of my suplexes I actually did in amateur wrestling matches, so, you know. No, there was never a problem. They were easy bumps. I mean, they looked pretty vicious, but, you know, if you do it right, it's not a problem.
And there were no tag teams that just didn't want to work with you for that reason that you're aware of?
No.
How about the change when Bill Watts came in? Could you see a difference in the company when Bill Watts took over?
Well, he was just an asshole, you know. We all knew he was getting a percentage of other people he cut, you know. And you know, eventually I had enough, and I gave him a piece of mind, you know.
How so?
Well, he was pushing his son a lot, you know. And it was like, and his son would come in, like, just destroy everything that, I mean, he put Arn Anderson in a move in a parking lot when they were trying to, it was ridiculous, man. It was like, he was just an old piece of shit that wanted to say that he was tough at one time, but.
Well, did you and Bill Watts ever come to like a?
Oh yeah, I called him out, you know. But told him what I felt. And
in front of other guys.
yeah, right at the center stage. Told him it was all bullshit.
You think you were speaking for a lot of guys? Or
Oh, I know I was, you know. And I was, you know.
how did he respond to that?
Tail between the legs. So, what can you do? Had to speak my peace of mind, you know. So.
Did you get heat from the office for that?
No, not that I know of. You know, but we left pretty close. Our contracts are up. That's about the right time that we left, you know, because you know he's trying to cut everybody's contract. You know, they offered, but they ended up offering us more, but we left anyways, and after we left, I think they fired him a month later or something.
I think before you left, you broke off and had a singles feud with Ric Flair.
No, my last match there was I won the Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat. That was one of my last matches. No, I wrestled Flair many a times. But they're supposed to put when Jim Herd was in charge, you know, it was like they were, you know, we're supposed to have we had a match on Saturday night, TV tape, and I beat him there. Then we had the Clash of Champions, and they were gonna, you know, put the belt on me at a later date, and you know he did a, you know, sat down on me, and I was too green to realize what he was doing at the time, you know.
Why do you think he did that?
Oh, because he didn't want to give the belt up, you know. That's the way he was, you know. I mean, he believed. He never was an athlete, you know. It's like it's almost the biggest pussies want to have the belt, you know what I mean? It's like they want to be pushed the hardest. And trust me. Well, see, one of my first experiences was about Ric Flair's from Dick the Bruiser. He had heard I was going to go down to the NWA, you know. He said, as soon as you get there, drop your bags and tell Flair, I told you to carry your bags, you know. And I thought he was kidding me. I thought he was telling the truth, you know. And later on that night, I'm riding back with Don Kent, and I told him what he told me. He said, no, don't do that. You won't be staying long, you know. Because, you know, they all told me that's how Flair got into business, carrying the guy's bags, you know. So.
It's reported that Flair actually took a liking to you and your brother. He was really impressed with you know, with how tough you were, and actually tried to, you know, bring you into his fold. Is that true?
Nah, not that I know of.
No, he wasn't particularly friendly to you.
Oh, Flair's friendly with everybody, but he'll just stab you in the back, you know. That's the way he is, you know. You can't trust him.
I also heard that he used to ask you and your brother to wrestle against each other just basically to watch for his own entertainment.
Never happened. You heard that?
Yep.
No. Like, we're going to listen to Ric Flair. See, everybody has a misconception of Flair's this, that. He's as big as, you know, it's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, with the curtain down. You see somebody different on one side of the curtain than the other. Backstage, he's the biggest pussy you ever meet.
What was your impressions of DDP at the time?
He wasn't around, man. He was here and there, but he couldn't get a job, you know. He was non-existent.
How'd you end up with Missy Hyatt being your manager?
Bookers.
It was a bad idea?
Nah, it was all right, but
Care?
nothing made, you know, didn't make no sense, no rhyme or reason.
I don't think you were listed in Missy Hyatt's book.
No. What did it say?
Her book, you know.
Did I read it?
No, you weren't in her book.
Oh, really?
Her list.
Her list of people that she had sex with.
Oh. No. No.
There was a story about stealing her dog. Does that ring a bell?
No. No. Might have happened, but, you know.
I think you guys just played a rib on her or something like that.
Not really. Could have happened.
How about your memories of wrestling Gordy and Williams?
Steve, you know, Steve Williams was, you know, a legit tough guy, you know, because he played football and he also wrestled in college, you know, so he was legit. But at the time, Gordy, my brother and him, we had a, my brother was going to beat him up one night because he was so messed up. He was just, that's why he died. He was on so much drugs, and I think that was after the time where he had passed out or something, and he just wasn't the same, when they came in. He was just, and it was a screwed up system. It was Watts again. He was bringing Gordy and Williams over here because they wrestled for him in the UWF, and they were wrestling for All Japan Wrestling, which is Baba, and our contract was with New Japan. It just make no sense. It was just another booker just trying to shove his bullshit down, at the expense of WCW.
What memories of working against Vader?
Vader, we always had a good match with Vader, and wrestled in Japan. It was him, Bam Bam Bigelow. They were easy.
Around this time was one of your first tours of Japan?
One of them. Our first tours were with wrestled with Hasi and Sasaki. So those were our first couple matches in Tokyo Dome.
Talk about some of the differences between the American wrestling and going over there to Japan.
I was more quicker, not as, very little rest holds, People were different, as far as response, But they always respected, good matches. But it wasn't like a big loud ovation. It was, short clapping. But it was different. It was, it was more stiff,
Was the language barrier, did that?
Only if they wanted it. Only if they wanted it to be,
Yeah.
If they didn't want to do something, they would
Pretend like they didn't understand.
don't understand.
Yeah. How about your thoughts on Inoki, who was running New Japan at that time?
I always respected him. I met him on a few occasions, but it was, never really had a personal relationship with him,
Do you have any thoughts or memories of the match you had with Sting and Muta?
Well, it was a good match, It's like just it was a good match. People enjoyed it. It was, we had a good time. Muta was good, but so was Sting. But Muta was definitely, he was over in Japan, Well, he's over in the United States too, because he worked for WCW for a while, so.
Were you surprised how well you were received your first trip to Japan?
Yeah, we got a good response. It was interesting, it was it's just validation when people respond to you like that you're doing things right, So.
You alluded to it earlier in the interview, working against Steamboat for the TV title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just on I think it was Saturday night TV, and it was actually Watts wanted to turn me heel, and turn me into a singles wrestler, and I wasn't for that at the time, But I just wrestled a single match and beat him for, I think, the TV title or something like that, but that was one of my last matches there.
Were any of these guys that you wrestled in WCW, I mean, you're still early in your career in the business, would you say any of them really helped you in terms of develop who you are today?
No, we did a lot of figuring out on our own, like we're all there together at the same time, like Sting and Lex, and it's not a whole lot of old guys that took you aside. It's like you had to learn on your own,
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that was like it was with everybody,
Lex been criticized about being, his working ability not being really that strong. He had a great body from the beginning. But what's your take when someone says something like that about Lex Luger?
Yeah, but who says it? You got to look who's saying it. It's like.
Well, you were in the ring with him. That's why.
Yeah, Lex was good. He looked great, and that was that's what he was known for. And it worked for him, and he was over. So, for people to criticize it can't work, they're like, who cares if you can do anything? Most of the guys that can do most things don't draw a dime anyway. So.
Mm-hmm. What ended up being the reason that you left WCW to go to WWF?
I think that we were just tired of it. We just wanted to change. As WCW's, even back then we had heard rumors that, Ted was going to drop it, but I don't know. We had like probably 9, 10 different bookers, and it was just everybody just trying to push their own shit, and we just got tired of it, So, but that was a mistake too, We should never went up there.
Should never went to WWE.
Hell no, that was it was miserable. People were miserable up there. You got to remember that's when Vince was going through that steroids trial, Mm-hmm. He was doing that IcoPro stuff and the bodybuilding, and the bodybuilders had contracts at the time, which none of the wrestlers did, It was a different time. And traveling down WCW was traveling a lot worse up there, And it was just, people were miserable, man. And it was, the reason we left because we got a better deal. Had a better deal in Japan than to stay there. We only stayed there, 11 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to get out of there. It was killing us. It was
So
brutal.
the pay going from WCW to WWF really wasn't the sole or even the main reason. You were just kind of fed up with WCW.
Yeah. We just wanted to change,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did you look at Japan as a way to make that where you're going to primarily wrestle? Or was that always in the back of your mind?
No, just how things worked out, and they and it worked out good, I thought it worked out good, and because things got worse in WWF at the time, So.
Who was your first series in WWF that you started with?
First series.
First set of opponents.
Oh, it was Mike Rotundo and DiBiase. Money Incorporated, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did they give you any direction in terms of did they want to change anything about what you were doing, or was it just?
No, not a whole lot. We just did what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you think your brother was in favor of moving there too, or I guess a better question is you just said you regretted going up there? Do you think he regretted going up there as well?
Yeah, more probably. I can't answer for him, but money is, what you're in this business for, So.
Mm-hmm. How about some of the other teams? Did you ended up wrestling against the Hearts?
Yeah, we had a match with Owen and Brett, and just a couple of matches, but Owen was, we used to travel all the time together, share rooms together,
Mm-hmm.
But Owen was a good dude, man. So, but we had some good matches, but it was nothing.
When you left, Sting and Lex were still back in WCW.
No, Lex was up there before we were.
Or was he up there before you?
Yeah, Lex went up there and was going to do the bodybuilding thing, and then he got in a motorcycle accident and screwed up his elbow.
Well, he was up. You said everybody was miserable. You must have talked to him before you made the decision to go up there.
Yeah, but he didn't know how it was because he wasn't wrestling. He was going to break in. He wasn't on TV as a wrestler yet. He was going to go in there, and the plans were he was going to start out with bodybuilding, and I think he ran past me like he was going to finish second or something, and then they were going to do a spin-off from right there to where he was going to start wrestling,
Mm-hmm. Was there ever talk, whether it be in WWF or back in WCW the first time, that you and your brother were going to, feud in a singles match? I mean, that's usually what happens in wrestling. They start on a tag team, they turn, and they.
No, they never discussed it with us. It's like, well, actually, one Royal Rumble they wanted us to go. How I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be in the ring. My brother was going to be in the ring. We'd go at it, but we didn't go for it.
Talk about your loss to the Quebecers and leaving the WWF.
No, just wanted to get out of there, so it was no big deal. And they were fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but something we just wanted to get out,
There wasn't more to that match with the Quebecers in terms of the finish not being what it was supposed to be, or.
Oh no. Not unless you've heard something different.
I'm asking you.
No.
It's all straight up.
Yeah. What? Tell me why you heard something.
No, I'm just digging here.
Oh, come on, man. Time
I was
out.
going to ask you something.
All right. Well, time out first.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
No, I was trying to get him because I thought there was a story about the Quebecers' last second decision. They threw them in there just to get you out. out of WWF? I guess you were already planning on leaving.
To get us out.
Do you
When
remember what it was, Ron? Sure, what do you remember?
Well, there was a rumor that you and Vince had fallen out, and they moved the Beckers in there to get the belts off of y'all. That was on their way out.
Oh no, I don't. No.
So there was never any falling out with you and Vince that led.
Oh yeah, I had a meeting with Vince. We had a meeting with Vince. We back on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Vince when we were pissed off about the payoffs and stuff, you know. And he actually felt bad, you know, because you know he promised us we'd make money, and we didn't. So that's one of the reasons why we could break free, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And no ties at all, you know. He let us go. And I think he felt bad, but because he couldn't pay us, you know. But you know, wrestling wasn't his top priority, you know. He was facing jail time, you know. Like he's going to worry about us or anybody, you know. He actually brought people in because he was legitimately thinking he had to go to jail, you know.
So you left WWF and you spent a little bit of time with ECW, just working a few matches. How did you end up hooking up with ECW?
No, just Paul E. called, wanted us to come up there, so we just, you know, just went out there. You know?
Was the pay good, or were you just doing a favor for somebody?
Just doing a favor. You know, it was nothing more than a match here and there. It's, you know.
I think your first night in was in Flagstaff, up the building in the mountains.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I don't even know who I wrestled, but yeah. We only did probably three matches, you know, but we were mainly just.
I think you worked Dudley's first time in.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't.
Outdoors.
I don't even remember those guys. I don't think they were a tag team back then.
They just started. They just put them together.
Nah, I don't think so, but you could be right. I don't know.
Well, you remember wrestling the Eliminators, because they were one of the hottest tag teams in ECW at that time.
They were the hottest. Really.
You don't remember anything?
I remember, yeah, Perry Saturn. I remember him, but no, it was just. You gotta understand, man. Our main concern was Japan. It's like doing an independent shot, you know. Because that's basically what they were, you know.
Speaking of Japan, in WCW, to backtrack real quick, you had a match, I think it was a pay-per-view, it was against Fujinami and Azuka, and Azuka got pretty badly beat up in that match or something like that. He got stiffed or whatever. Did you guys get any heat for that? Because that was a big thing in the sheets back then, that you guys were pretty stiff with those guys.
Yeah, well, we were stiff, but
was
you gotta realize you guys are reading things from Dave Meltzer, and what the fuck does Dave
Well, it's
Meltzer
just the
know?
nature of the business, basically.
Right. You know, he gets the information secondhand. He's not in the locker room, and some of those guys that are calling him are just trying to, you know, bury what's going on anyway. So, you know, he's not reliable. You know, he might get some things right, but, you know.
One last question about WCW. You guys had the big match. I think it was the first time ever that they had two babyface teams. It was you guys against Sting and Lex.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a great match. Now, was there any fear between anybody in that match? Like, if the fans would turn on you guys, if you guys didn't want to turn to be heels right away, and you know.
No. We were actually all four of us. Well, I can't say that. I think all four of us were kind of upset. You know, we were kind of pissed off because we thought they all were, you know, fucking with us. You know, which was what went on a lot. You know.
Right.
So we just said, fuck it, we'll have the best match we can, and we did. You know, we were stiff, and they were stiff back with us, and we didn't care. We weren't gonna, you know, they give you, bookers give you something to do, and it's how you interpret it and how you want to do it is how it gets over, you know. So we weren't going to let something that they were going to try to do, you know, fuck us. So we gave it the best match possible, and the people loved it. So.
I think it was like the first time ever in the States that they had babyface.
Right. Yeah, we just basically shoved it up their ass, you know.
Talk a little more about your deal in Japan over at that time.
It was a great deal, man. We paid a lot of money, and we basically went over. You know, most guys were at that time were doing week-long tours, riding on buses, you know, 6-10 hours a day, and we would just fly in for the big shows and come back out. You know, it was a great deal, man. And they were paying back then too. You know, I mean, not like now, but I mean, because you know, Japan's down. I mean, I think everything's down, but it was. I loved it, man.
You came back to WCW when they made a decision to compete against Vince and start the Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
How did this WCW differ from the one you left a few years back?
Well, that's when Eric was in charge, and it was Eric, in my opinion, was probably one of the best things that ever happened in WCW. And if anybody ever says it's different, they're fucked up, because he started Nitro, and he's the one that stole talent. He's the one that brought the pay scale up. You might, some guys, I don't know, he paid everybody better. So if, I don't know what your agenda is in wrestling, but if it's not to make the most money you can, then, you're a mark, Eric was one of the best things, and he didn't take any shit from anybody, really. Because I remember one time he brought Greg Gagne down, and he tried to weasel his way behind his back, and Eric fired him, so, I have nothing, bad to say about Eric,
Did you really take it upon yourself? I mean, we talked about the Monday Night Wars. Did you personally look at it as we need to succeed and bury Vince, or is there any animosity to or competitiveness with?
Oh, I think everybody wanted to beat him. You understand. That. When we were in WWF at the time, Vince didn't even want to acknowledge WCW. It's like he was living in his own little world, his own box, and he didn't want to think there was any competition. And there is, and there was, and we proved it for 82 weeks straight. We beat him. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we all took pride in beating him.
Did you look every week what the numbers were? Was that something you made?
Oh yeah, we all did. We all looked at the numbers, and it was good for WCW, and it proved the point that Vince wasn't the only wrestling organization, and Vince shit wasn't the best, and look at it now, it definitely isn't.
Mm-hmm. Went from Scott Steiner, the collegiate wrestler, the tag team. You had very successful at, and then you went become, what your character is now, the Big Papa Pump. What instigated this change? Was it just an idea thrown out by somebody else, or was this something that you had more control of?
We were asked. Eric came up to us. Eric went to my brother and Sting first and asked what he thought I would think. Then Eric came up to me. But my brother and I had talked about doing something different, because at that point we had wrestled everybody in WCW. We went up to WWF, was world champion. We pretty much beat everybody. There wasn't really nothing else to prove that we were and so we just we always just thought it was the best. And the timing was almost perfect, where we were thinking about doing something different when Eric came up to us.
So it was pretty much Eric initiated this.
Oh, that was Eric's side. Was thinking about turning me in with the NWO.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard it before, but a lot of people say that you're just a modern thing of what Billy Graham did. When people say that to you, what's the response?
Well, I don't. Well, you see, I remember Billy Graham when he had the shaved head, blonde hair with two stripes right here, which I initially tried, Mm-hmm. And it was a pain in the ass, so I just switched. And I thought this looked better anyways, But it was definitely I thought about, but and I actually never told anybody. I didn't tell anybody until the night of. I actually told my brother, and then I ran it by Sting, and Sting thought I should run it by Eric, Other than that, I showed up the next day at Nitro with blonde hair, and you wouldn't believe that a lot of people didn't even know who I was, It was like, who's that muscled up guy with blonde hair, It was that much of a drastic change, which was good, But I talked to Kurt Hennig all the time, and he was, a big fan of Superstar, and being compared or Superstar Billy Graham is like, he's, Hogan even admits he copied Billy Graham, and a lot of people have, but and I just thought, I just need something different, so I changed it, and I didn't completely copy him, but it looks similar, but it was something I was ready to do, Mm-hmm.
The scene is always described as being a very political scene in that time period, WCW. Did you see that, or were you just out there just doing your own thing?
What do you mean political?
Politics, like there were certain groups in the back and
Oh,
lobbying.
it was
for,
politics from day one. From, you know, Flair saying he's 16-time world champion. Like, give me a fucking break. You know, we had Kevin Sullivan, he had all those guys booking. It's like I would have been 16-time world champion if I had all my buddies booking for me, and he was even the booker at one time. You know what I mean? So, and then when he was the booker, that's fucking everybody wanted to kill him. You know, because he's, you know, but of course there was a lot of politics. That's the way it was. You know, it was always like that. You know, it was like that's why I got so pissed off when I did that interview. It was like it was so close to the truth. You know.
Why did you pick that venue to do that interview? Because you weren't even in a program with Ric Flair.
Well, that was our nature. We were the NWO. We pretty much picked on anybody, and it just so happened I just, you know, wanted to do it, so I did it. You know.
So it wasn't like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll pick on Flair tonight. It was just you went out there and off the.
I thought about it for a couple of days, and I thought, fuck it, I'll fuck with him today. You know, do an interview on him. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, and.
What kind of backlash did you get when you came back?
Well, I came back, and I found out later Flair's in the room crying, and actually crying, you know. But that's the way Flair was, you know. I mean, if you remember that skit that the NWO did, you know, when X-Pac was one of the best, funniest things I ever seen in wrestling. When X-Pac had the water thing, and tears would come out of his eyes. That's the way Flair was, man. He was to try to drop it. He was. You gotta understand. You gotta see it to believe it. It's embarrassing, you know. But that's I came back and I heard he was crying, and then yeah, they actually tried to get me fired. He actually tried to get me fired, you know. Went through J.J. Dillon, you know, and Bill Bush. Bill Bush didn't know what the hell he was doing, so he was listening to. Of course, he was listening to Kevin Sullivan and J.J. Dillon. It was still the same fucked characters that were bringing WCW down, you know.
Did you feel like every time you went to WCW there was this ceiling with the, I guess the older guys like Flair and stuff, and they were...
Well, yeah, it was always like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. How did Hogan fit in?
Well, you got to understand, Jim Herd wanted to retire Flair,
yeah.
And when Herd was a champion, well, I mean, when Herd was in charge, he tried to Flair always body looked like shit, you know. It was, you know, that's the only reason why he stayed on top, you know. So
Flair's always discredited Herd for wanting to make him Spartacus and change like the history of
yeah, we all laughed at that. Fuck him, man. He fucked with so many people. He got so many people fired. You know, he deserved what he get. It's karma, man.
How about Hogan and his place in, I guess, this political structure of
Oh, Hogan was the man. You know, Eric listened to him. You know, I will say Hogan is probably the Zen master, the master manipulator. He's, you know, the greatest of all time. He went up to WWF and beat Vince's son-in-law. How's that? You know what I mean? He's the best, man. He's, you know, he's the high chief, man. Best worker outside the ring there is.
He also aligned himself with you. Do you think he kind of was latching on to some of the success you were having because you were getting so over?
Well, you know, when I first turned heel, you know, I found out through some guys who were in the room, you know, Hogan called all the shots, man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he would say who would win, who would lose, you know. So he'd tell Eric, and Eric would, you know, so.
When you said Flair cried over what you cut on him, did he ever come back and try to say something to you face to face, or?
Well, the next day, they sent me home, you know, and it just so happened that, you know, he was coming through, you know, and he tried to say something, man. I told him to get the fuck away from me.
It's like at an airport or something?
No, it was backstage, and it was
okay.
Oklahoma,
Uh-huh.
you know. He tried, oh, it's not my fault, you know. I was like, what are you know. I mean, you got to be an idiot to believe anything Flair says, you know. Mm-hmm. So.
But it didn't keep you off TV long.
No, first they tried to say they were going to fire me because I was wearing a Superman emblem, you know, on my side of my trunks. So then my lawyer, you know, said, well, he's on your website right now with the Superman emblem, you know. So within an hour they took it down, you know. It was just a clusterfuck down there, you know. You would not believe that, you know, TBS, the power that it had, and how mismanaged it was. It was pretty bad, you know.
Was there ever talk about, since you cut this promo on Flair, actually turn it into an angle?
No, Flair wouldn't want no
No?
part of that, no. But, the thing that, I also did a hard interview against Hogan, too, and I actually compared the two, because I had nothing against, actually, when I was coming back from right before I had back surgery, and Hogan had just left the NWO, and I cut a, pretty good interview on him, and it's like, I compared the two. I said, look, man, like I said, here, this here, and it was pretty much, pretty much hardcore, and they couldn't, they did what they did, but they couldn't, it was nothing they could do.
Do you remember the promo you cut on Kimberly Page?
Yeah. Which one?
What inspired that?
Oh, she's messed up, She actually, I think we had a conversation about, she thought, women were drawn or something like that, but she's,
you allegedly harassed some of the Nitro girls.
Oh, they were just a bunch of tramps, man, from Atlanta. I never harassed any of them, I didn't give them the time of the day, It's like, one was a cold core, It's like, they were messed up girls, man. The strippers, you know what I mean? Kimberly Page tried to strip, and she was so bad that they fired her, I mean, that's the honest God's truth, It's like, because I know guys that were managers at the strip club at that time,
Mm-hmm.
So.
You ever visit that Gold's Club?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get treated well there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Atlanta has some, Atlanta's a good town.
You were suspended for unprofessional behavior prior to the June 27th Thunder tapings. Is there a story behind that suspension?
Man, I don't remember that. No, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. Could have happened, I don't know.
Were you frustrated to be in WCW at that time, or would you say it was did you have a lot of fun working at that time?
Well, there was a lot of frustration, but it was a good time, That's probably the best time, I actually talked to Eric, and he said we really didn't realize how good we had it, But it was definitely a good time.
Mm-hmm. Scott Hall was fired around that time.
Right,
I think it was fair the way they fired him.
Oh, I actually, and Scott Hall is, everybody knows he's messed up, but Scott Hall is a good wrestler, Scott Hall can draw money, and Scott Hall is a great character, It's like, that's just another person being messed with, So, but I guess he ended up getting his money anyway, so worked out for the best.
You met Vince Russo, I think, when you were in WWF, and then he came to WCW. Were you a fan of his?
Well, I actually had a meeting with Harvey Schiller to, steal him away,
Oh,
So,
you did?
Yeah. So I was talking to Jeff at the time, and then when he was, and Jeff could get out of his contract, and because you gotta understand, like at the time we were taking private jets to Nitro and then coming back, So I talked to Eric, and Eric would say, "Man, I'm trying to find a booker, but there's nobody there, So he was always looking for something. I mean, he knew the booking was the shits, but he just didn't know who to turn to, So.
It's rumored that a lot of people in their contracts had, clauses in there that allowed them to have control over their characters in WCW. Did you have any type of clause in your own contract?
I don't know who had that. Maybe Hogan. But Hogan had a lot of things, So.
So if they gave you something that you didn't want to do, you go along with it, or did you have the ability to say, I don't?
Oh, no, I went along with a lot, but, if I didn't like something, I'd just, so it makes sense, I wasn't going to do something stupid. Mm-hmm. But you got to understand, at that time, I was coming up with a lot of my own stuff at the time.
Like what kind of stuff did you bring to the character?
Well, it was my idea to look like this. It was my idea to, you know, that's when I actually lost, you know, leaned out a lot, you know, and then a lot of those ideas at the time, you know, was like, it just what happened at the time, like it was Marcus got hurt with his neck. My brother was hurt with his shoulder, and I was hurt with my back, you know, but we were still doing TV, you know, every week, and we were just coming up with our own storyline, you know. So a lot of that stuff was what we wanted to do, you know. So and Eric was good about that because, like I said, you know, he knew the booking was horrible. So.
Who was booking at the time? If it was horrible?
Same old shit, Kevin Sullivan, and you know, and they had a committee of guys, you know. But it was, you know.
Was there ever a time with all those rotating booking committees and stuff that you felt like they had something, or was it just always a mess?
No, it was. You know, a lot. Eric, Eric just listened to Hogan a lot. You know, I remember one time we were in New York, and I think it was Rochester, and you know, it's 15 minutes before showtime. Hogan hadn't showed up, and nobody knew what they were doing. You know, because Hogan would show up and change everything. You know, but there was one time when Eric wasn't at a Nitro, and they tried to mess with me there. You know, where
That's what he called it, a cell phone or something?
what's that?
Is that when he called in the booking over the cell phone or something like that?
No, I don't know. They tried to do something, and JJ came out, and I was supposed to do an interview, you know, and then they cut my music. I wanted to get the mic, and they started playing the other, and JJ came out and started playing other music. So I just said, fuck it, and put the mic down and pushed them all the way back to the locker room, you know. And you could tell it was a fuck segment, you know.
The headdress and stuff, that was all your idea?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nobody's going to come up with ideas for you, you know. You got to come up with your own. So.
Did you ever feel like the whole NWO got watered down by bringing
people
in and out?
Yeah, well, NWO got watered down because they started letting too many guys in. Then they do, the Latino World Order, and then they try to separate them, you know, NWO white and black, and red and something, you know, whatever. They try to split them, and then they split Kevin Nash and Scott Hall together. I mean, that isn't going to work. They came from the WWE together, you know. So it was just another, you know, booking bullshit that they tried to mess with Scott Hall, you know. Kevin Nash, it was.
You said you didn't remember about being suspended before Thunder. I don't know if this will jog a memory, but apparently there was something related to Terry Taylor, and you kind of hinted that you may shoot on Terry Taylor. Do you know? Does that jog any memories whatsoever?
Yeah, but I don't think there was a suspension on that. I think what happened was they're supposed to play somebody else's music first, or my music, and the music got all switched up, and it was just one of those things. Like in the back, you know, it was just so unprofessional. I was like, you know.
But how did it get between you and Terry Taylor? Why would Terry Taylor be the
first guy you saw?
First guy you saw.
That's basically how. I didn't.
So
there was no prejudice, man.
Right.
I had a short temper, you know. So.
Well, you could admit that. Were you difficult to get along with?
No, with who? You know, the guys who were, you know. No, I just didn't want to do stupid shit, you know. You know, I wasn't difficult to get along with. I just, you know.
You just spoke up.
I didn't like the backstabbing and stuff. That's wrestling, you know.
So no
but
one ever accused you of doing any backstabbing?
No, I never did. No. If I got something to say, I'll say it, you know. But I wasn't in a position to do anything that, you know. I wasn't a booker. I was never a booker, so, you know.
Do you any memories of when Bagwell got injured in the ring with your brother?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
I'm the one that turned him over, you know. It was pretty weird, you know, because I pushed him over, and I was supposed to turn him over, and his whole body was just limp, you know. It was pretty weird, you know. But yeah, we went to the hospital later on that night, and then he had an operation, you know. It was weird though. It was like he had an operation, he was in the hospital. My brother was in the hospital for getting his shoulder done, and then I went to the hospital because I had a bad back. We're all in the hospital at the same time, same hospital.
How about the Bill Goldberg phenomenon?
Bill was, took off like no other. It was just amazing. What he was able to accomplish in such a short time. And not too many people could do it. And we look at Steve McMichael. He was a phenomenal football player. There was a comparison between him and Goldberg, just non-existent. McMichael was, probably a Hall of Famer. It's like, but Goldberg picked it up, and McMichael never did.
There was a feud with the New Blood and the Millionaires Club feud. Would you lump that into just another one of the crazy ideas from the book and that kept changing?
Yeah, that never, it was short-lived. I really don't remember too much about that because it was, I think Russo got sent home or something, or it was, didn't last long.
DDP and Eric Bischoff were known to be good friends. Do you think he got pushed too much because of his friendship with?
That's the only reason he got pushed. That's the way he was treated up in WWE when he out there too. It's a known fact.
So from a fellow wrestler, you didn't see the talent in DDP that maybe he deserved to be where he was?
I'm telling you, that's the only reason he got pushed.
Did you think he had talent?
Yeah, he had a little bit of talent, but he had guys helping him too. But you got to understand, whereas a big machine behind you, it's a lot easier to get over. But everybody knows that's why he got pushed. I mean, it's not like, well, you think I'm telling you guys something you guys don't know? You know what I mean?
Was there ever legit tension between you and Bagwell at all?
No, I was just. Did you read that on the sheets?
I don't remember.
No, it was no big deal.
About Tank Abbott came in, and I guess they were trying to use his credibility from UFC to bring it into WCW. How was he received?
I don't know. It was just horrible. Then they had him dancing and stuff. Just another miserable experience. I mean, nothing against Tank. Tank didn't know wrestling. It just just another thing that they screwed up.
Do you remember an impromptu match where you came in and cleaned up 3 count, all 3 of them, without them knowing you were coming to the ring?
No.
No?
Who told you that?
One of the members of 3 count.
Said I was impromptu?
Yeah, they didn't know you were coming in the ring. And
Never happened. Why would I do that?
that's why I asked.
On TV?
I remember. It was a TV. It was like a quick squash. You squashed real quick.
I remember wrestling 3 of them, yeah, but that's the way it was put, you know what I mean?
It was planned.
Yeah. Oh, my God, you would have never made TV, it wasn't, Are you kidding? Who said that?
Shannon.
Was he mad about it or something?
No.
No, if it wasn't supposed to happen, they would just edit it. You know what I mean?
How about the match when you were at the tag match with Sid, and Sid, broke his
Oh,
arm?
my God. That was brutal. That was the worst thing I ever saw, a lot worse than, Theismann. But the thing about it, I didn't know what happened, Like,
'Cause, didn't you go over and cover him after it happened?
no, I kicked him.
Okay.
I kicked him a few
But
times.
you just didn't see the leg.
No, he came off the second rope, and as he was coming off, I turned. So when his leg was snapping, my back was to him, And so as soon as it happened, the referee came over and he said, Sid thinks he broke his ankle, And I said, well, tell him to get up, take your clothes on, So he went, as I'm hitting the ropes to give him a kick, I kick him a few times, and the referee comes back to me and says, Sid says he can't do nothing, So I kicked him a few more times, and I don't know if I tried to pick him up or not, but, then we just went I just covered him, And it wasn't until afterwards that I realized how, until I seen the footage, how bad it was, But I was just actually talking to Chuck Palumbo, and he says, some of those guys said, man, why the fuck is he kicking him, Because they had the privilege of seeing his leg snap, but I didn't. Then they thought I saw it, but I didn't see nothing, So.
Remember the interview in St. Louis that you cut on Mark McGuire?
Oh yeah, that was a good one, but I had heard through, the grapevine that, Mark thought was pretty funny, but yeah, they were pissed, man. You understand, that's when we were hot too, there was I think 40,000, 45,000 people in the dome at the time, and then, yeah, they were pissed, man. It was a good time. That was another thing that we came up with,
Mm-hmm.
And Eric, we came back, and Eric, because he goes, what the fuck you guys doing? He goes, that was strong, man. I said, we told you we were going to do something. He goes, yeah, but I didn't know you guys were going to do that, but that, like I said, Eric gave us that freedom to do, he trusted our judgment to where he knew things were going to work,
Mm-hmm.
and I, to his credit,
In that skit, you referenced Mark McGuire and his use of steroids and stuff, and a lot of people.
No, not steroids, Anderstein.
Anderstein. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people point fingers at you as being the poster child for steroid use in wrestling. I'm sure you've heard the.
Well, they tried to do that, they had the ESPN had the bullshit. Jeremy Schaap come down, and they do the gimmick where ask you 20 questions, but ask you one question about steroids, and that's the only thing they'll put on, and they asked me all the questions and I answered them, and if you notice, I wasn't on the segment, but they did have a thing of a needle going off, and then I was in the background, but I was never on that segment because, I'm not stupid. I knew what he was doing, So, but say what you will, I never failed a drug test.
Mm-hmm.
So, matter of fact, when I went up to the WWE, they called me and they called my lawyer and they said, oh, they want to drug test you. I said, yeah, fine, sure. Have Hunter pick them up in limo. They both go together. So, that was the end of that.
It's obvious, and I'm not pointing fingers at you, but that there's steroid use in all these sports and stuff.
There's drugs in every sport.
What do you look at?
There's drugs in everybody.
Do you look at it as a personal decision, like people should leave you alone and let an individual make his own choice, and or do you look at it as something that someone should step in and put their hands on something like that? Is that an issue that you leave to the individual, or is that an issue that we should be concerned about?
It depends when you influence younger kids,
Do you think you were in a position to influence younger kids?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't trying to be. I was trying to be a prick, I was a bad guy, So.
By that logic, it'd be okay for a heel to use steroids and not a babyface.
Accuse me of what? Like I said, I remember,
What are your views on steroids?
What were you looking? What are you talking about?
As far as you endorse it, as far as taking it to help injuries and when you're on the road schedule and stuff like that.
Well, steroids have been around since 40s. And baseball saying now they're just learning about them. They're full of shit. It's like, but they were made for a reason. They work.
Have you personally ever taken them?
No.
So if someone asked you how you got so big compared to the Scott Steiner they remember you tagging with your brother in the 90s.
Well, you got to understand, the biggest I ever looked when I was like 245, but I was ripped, I could, the heavier you are, it doesn't matter how big you look, When you're more cut is more when you look more ripped on TV, So.
You mentioned you're in the gym almost every day. Can you describe
Yeah,
what
pretty
your
much,
workout
yeah.
routine's been?
Just do a body part a day. I've been doing that since I started, since I started professional wrestling. So.
Again, this is another rumor that you read online. I just want to throw it out there and just let you respond. They've said that both you and Buff Bagwell got implants for your calf muscles. Have you ever read that before?
No.
Is that the first time you ever heard something?
Yeah. No, but it's a known fact. But Marcus tried it,
Yeah.
He was on a TV show saying, advising against it, But no, I've always had good calves. So.
What about growth? Ever try that or no?
No.
Does it bother you to see that there, drug use in general, we'll not just talk about isolated steroid, but drug use in general has, been linked to the death of a lot of wrestlers. Just being a fellow wrestler yourself,
Well, it's the truth,
Is it probably wrestling worse than society? Is it worse
No.
than other?
No, it's a microcosm of society, just so happens that guys were unfortunate, you know. So, I mean, the autopsies were there. You know, everybody knows what they died of, you know. So,
Competing in wrestling in 4 or 5 days a week could take a big toll on your body and stuff. Have you ever experimented with the pain medications that a lot of people have been subsequently hooked on?
yeah, but I had it taken for one of my back, you know. Like, you know, the back injury was probably one of the worst injuries I ever had, you know. Experiencing with nerve pain, you know, that's probably the worst, you know. So, yeah, I had to take
Was there pressure to stay in the ring and take those, you know, those things to?
No, nobody puts pressure on you, but I had to take, just to get, you know, I was living in hell, man, when I had my back surgery, you know, before I had my back surgery.
What exactly, you talked about your back being so bad. What exactly happened?
Well, I ruptured one disc, and it got better. I wrestled again, ruptured another one, took some time off, wrestled again, and after the third one, I couldn't recover, and I ended up having surgery. So, and it helped, you know. So.
Were you particularly fond of your series of matches you had with Booker T?
No, it was,
Did they stand out for you?
no. When I beat him for the title, people cheered, you know. Now I was the heel, you know. So, no, just.
Do you have any emotional ties to being part of the final Nitro?
What do you mean emotional ties? Everybody knew they were fucked. You know what I mean? Everybody knew the business was, you know, one guy owning the whole thing was going to be, you know, screwed. And it's ended up being true, you know. So, but they'll admit that themselves, you know.
Right. Where did you see your place at that? You know, if you could remember back where you were at that final Nitro, what did you think the next 3 years were going to be for you?
I really didn't give it much thought, you know. I was like,
Were you one of the guys who had the contract that would take you beyond when Nitro ended?
yeah. Yeah, so I didn't have to worry about nothing till, you know, my contract ended in November, December, something like that. So.
You didn't go to the WWE right away after your contract expired.
Yeah, they wanted me to take a buyout and stuff. It's like, you know, some guys did, you know, but I wasn't going to do it. Plus, I was waiting for my foot to heal, you know, so I had to wait for that.
The buyout offer was to come back and wrestle on TV
Yeah, they had some angle. I think it played out where, but I knew it sounded like a bad idea. Plus, I wasn't going to take a buyout, you know.
Well, what prompted your return to WWE? Because you were out for a few months. It was almost a year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was close to a year. You know, they offered me money. That was pretty good.
Was there previous unsuccessful attempts to get you in there earlier?
Yeah, I was actually supposed to. They contacted me right before WrestleMania. I was supposed to be. They were talking about mentioning. They talked to my lawyer and said something about me tagging with Austin against Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So.
It was just not enough money on the table to.
Yeah, something like that. And you gotta understand, I just let my lawyer take care of it, you know. So, unless they came up with the right number, I told my lawyer not to call me, you know. So.
So you put yourself in a position where you didn't need to wrestle anymore.
No. It was. Plus, I could see what was going on on TV, you know. It was like nothing was, you know. I think at the time Austin was singing, and you know, to Vincent with a guitar, and they were in the ring singing. So all were in the ring singing to Austin. I mean, it was brutal shit, man. So I was in no hurry.
You probably hadn't kept up with the TV a lot once you finished up with Nitro.
Yeah, I actually did watch a little bit, but it's like, you know, it wasn't nothing that was worth anything, you know. So.
Well, when you finally did agree to, for whatever number you agreed to, what was the promises made to you? I mean, do they have you outlined with being certain programs?
Oh, they said they're going to push me, you know. But I had heard rumors they were just going to bring me in to, you know, face Hunter and you know, and that was it, you know. Matter of fact, one of the ring crew guys brought me an article from a Pittsburgh newspaper where it said, you know, saying to the fact, and hope you don't get treated the same, blah, 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 like other WCW talent. And hopefully Vince will, you know, do it, you know. It's different than what he's done with other WCW talent, but he basically treated, you know, me, Goldberg, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, all the same, you know. So.
You say all the same.
Yeah, we just put his thumb on us, you know. I mean, I couldn't even do my own interviews, you know. They had to write out your own interviews, and, you know, went from writing your own interviews, and you had to practice them in the back. I mean, it was brutal. So.
Why do you think he did this, or particularly to you?
He did to everybody. That's the way it was up there. It's like, well, you know, it was just, you know, control freaks, you know. And then we were taking, there was like 4 or 5 little guys, you know, that can't be more than 5'6", 5'8", trying to write TV, what's cool, you know, and like, it just wasn't working, you know.
Remember your first match back with Chris Nowinski?
I remember them a little bit. Yeah, not much. It was.
They said that he got a little roughed up in the match. I didn't know if
I
you
don't
know
know.
anything about it, or if he complained about it. Or
No, he didn't complain.
No.
No.
The match with Triple H, when you finally got to wrestle Triple H, some people said it was booked too long.
It wasn't booked too long. They took it too long.
Took it too long?
Yeah, it was. You don't understand. You got to realize that, you know, they could bury you any way they want. It was supposed to be for 18 minutes. We ended up going for like 28 minutes, 29 minutes, you know. They were just trying to, you know, they weren't going to do anything with me from day one, you know.
Well, there was speculation that Triple H tried to stretch the match out to try to make you look bad and gas you up.
Yeah, but I wasn't tired, you know.
No?
No.
Why would a match that was planned to go 18 minutes with the control freaks that they were in take?
Well, I just said it. They try to put your thumb on you, you know. Try to make you look bad, you know. Matter of fact,
What incentive do they have to make you look bad, though? I mean, they got money invested in you.
You tell me. It don't make no sense. So who's dumb, me or him? I'm collecting the same amount of money whether he pushes me or not, you know. So at that point in time, I really, you know, I was going to sit back and, you know, my foot was injured at the time, so, you know, I was going to let him do what he wanted. You know, I knew I had no control, you know. So, you know, I don't know if you guys seen the first time I went out there was Madison Square Garden. Did you guys see that? You know.
A huge reaction.
Huh? Yeah. Howard Finkel said it was, you know, he said, you know, Howard Finkel was the first guy that Vince hired, you know. He said, and I've been around for a lot, you know, the superstar, Bruno, he says that ranks up with one of the best, you know, ovations. You know, I took that, because I knew Howard from the first time we were up there in 92, 93, you know, so I respected Howard's opinion, you know, but, you know, and I remember, like, probably real quick after that, maybe 2 weeks after that, I said, Vince, are they burying me yet, you know? 'Cause I knew people were going to bury me, you know. So, oh, no, everybody wants to see you get over, you know, so. But I knew it, you know, so.
You met your old friend Ric Flair. He was already back there.
Yeah. What?
Did you have any correspondence with him, or did you just kind of stay away?
No, I talked to him.
Yeah.
I don't think nothing against Flair. Just because he's a piece of shit, it doesn't, you know, he's not my friend, you know. He still talked to me like we're, you know. But that's what the way Flair is, you know.
If you were to critique your own match against Triple H, what would you say about it?
No, it wasn't very good, you know.
Why?
Well, it takes 2 people, you know. If one guy don't want to have a good match, it's not going to be a good match. I mean, that's pretty simple. You
Why
know?
would he not want to have a good match with you? You think he felt intimidated?
For whatever reason, you know. Probably, you know, things Flair was saying to him, you know. I don't know. So, but I knew going in, you know. After that, you know, I knew I was screwed, so. But, you know, it's his company. Look where it's at now.
You did probably not very memorable for yourself, but you did an angle with Test fighting over Stacy Keibler.
Yeah, brutal.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't let us do anything, you know. It's like, you know, Stacy was still wearing the wholesome clothes, you know, and I at least wanted to try to make her dress a little different, and where she was, you know, dressed a little more like Medeja and stuff, you know. And then actually they wanted one Nitro, or one Raw, they wanted us to go out there and just kiss, you know, out of the blue, you know, just in a mad, passionate kiss. And we both looked at each other like, what for, you know? Why would we do that? We had the chemistry wasn't there to, you know, for that to happen, you know. It's like, so we didn't do it, you know.
You mentioned Medeja, and we totally forgot to bring her up. Did you bring her in, or was that somebody else that saw her?
No, they were there, and it just happened it was Medeja and another girl was Kim. They were kind of like, and there was like 5 of them at one time, you know, and we just kind of like, her and Kim, like, we just kind of hit it off, and we were just friends, you know. So, but
You have more respect for her she's, you know, pretty involved in bodybuilding herself?
no, she's actually a down to earth girl, you know. So she's cool, you know. Like a lot of these girls are just, you know.
You think she liked wrestling, or was she just there to pick up a paycheck?
She was trying to learn it, you know. You know, she got in the ring. She went down to the power plant. She was trying to learn it, you know. So.
Following your WWF stint, you know, you had an opportunity.
WWF or WWE?
WWE. You had an opportunity to go to work for TNA, and Jerry.
No, that was before.
Right, I'm sorry,
right.
We're doing this out of order, and I apologize for that. You had an opportunity to go to TNA.
Right.
Apparently, Jeff Jarrett, when he was booking things, approached you with the idea of coming in and helping his promotion out.
Right.
Jerry Jarrett wrote about it in the book and said he thought it was pretty disrespectful of you not to help out a friend, considering what he'd done for you in the past.
What did he do for me, you know?
No,
me and Jeff were friends, yeah. But it was, you know, business, you know. It was like, at the time, that's when WWE was calling me to go work for them in WrestleMania, and then they were still keep on contact with me, so. And it was something that, you know, something that wasn't thought was, you know, the right thing to do, you know. But
well, you said
Jerry Jarrett, you know, who's Jerry Jarrett, you know? He's an old-timer that lost touch, you know.
Well, Jeff was trying to start something to compete with Vince, and you must have had, maybe going back to your Nitro days when you were able to compete with Vince McMahon one time, there must have been a thought in your mind that says, you know, we can do this again.
Yeah, but you know, look, you know, if they would have had good backers, yeah, it could have, it was, you know, but there was nothing in the paper, you know, so.
Was
Yeah.
Was the offer just too unreasonable to even entertain going to TNA?
You know, I thought about it, but it was just, you understand, had 2 things going on at the same time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I took, you know, the better offer.
This was, what, 2 years later? Are you surprised TNA's still around?
Well, it could be around for a lot longer if this thing with Spike takes off, but it also could be down and gone in a year, you know. It all depends, you know. So, but, you know, a certain amount of luck, a certain amount of skill it takes to keep something like that going. I think, you know, them getting involved with who they're involved with now helped out a lot. So, you know, but that wasn't on the table when they wanted me to come in, you know.
So you think they're in a better position now? You'd feel more comfortable?
Oh, they're definitely in a better position, you know, with Spike TV and who's the guy, the company that... Panda, you know. That wasn't on the table when they were talking to me, you know. That was long before, you know. It's like, but Jerry Jarrett writing a book, like...
We'll send you a copy.
Yeah, send me one. I mean, did anybody read it? Did you guys... I mean, did anybody... I mean, I didn't even hear about it, you know, for him to make a comment. Like, come on, man.
Do you have any desire? I mean, is the itch still there to wrestle and be on something like a TNA, or are you happy doing? You know, you just came back from a tour of Italy, or we're here at a large independent show tonight, which I'm hopefully you're getting taken care of well for your services here.
Well, you understand this is probably my, you know, counting Italy, probably my 5th or 6th match. You know, like I said, I had surgery on my foot, you know, and I actually never really thought about coming back until, you know, Marcus called me up and wanted me to do a couple of house shows, you know, so, and then, you know, one thing led to another, and Rikishi called me about the Italy tour and stuff, so, you know, I don't think, you know, I don't think I really want to end my career the way, you know, it happened, and, you know, even though that was just a minor, small part of my career, you know, that I want to end it on that note, you know. So.
You're supposedly a difficult guy to do business with and stuff, but have you ever?
Yeah, but you got.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Have you ever refused to put another guy over in a match?
No.
No.
I mean, I've talked about it before, but no. I mean, you know, you got to. You getting information from cheat sheets or something, or Dave Meltzer. You got to realize who's calling those sheets. You know.
Well, we do these interviews because, you know, all we have access to are these cheat sheets. So.
Right.
You know,
Right. No, I understand, but who do you think is calling the cheat sheets? You know.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Who is? It's got to be. It's got to be one of the fellow wrestlers, right?
No, or the guys in the office. You know what I mean? It's you know. And plus, you know, there's so many ways you can bury a guy. You know. Like when we first got into WCW, you know, we were getting over and stuff, so guys would start saying, "Oh, they're hurting everybody," and we weren't hurting anybody, but they were just, you know, when old timers are in charge, you know, they try to keep the young guys down, you know, and that's the way that was one of the ways, and then that didn't work, so then they're difficult to work with, you know, and then it's just the way it is, you know.
What's your opinion of like the cruiserweights? You know, the cruiserweights were a big part of the Nitro success, but they're always the first half of the show, and it was you guys on the second half of the show.
Right.
Do you respect the work that the cruiserweights do?
Oh yeah, they definitely, like Rey Mysterio, they definitely fly around, you know. Definitely do. You know, Ray is probably one of the few that, you know, that I will watch, and but yeah, but you know, the big guys draw the money, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's a fact. It's always been a fact.
Right. You did a guest appearance while you were under contract with WCW on Charmed.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your time with Alyssa Milano.
It was all right, but I had more contact with Shannon Doherty, you know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was like, I was supposed to, you know, press slam one of the girls, you know, and they were going to go to something else, you know. So I got the stump double, and I'm telling her, listen, I got to put my hand right in your crotch, you know, and I'll put it right here, and I'm going to lift you up. These, you know, the stunt doubles, you know, they'll do anything, you know. So Shannon Doherty's in the ring, she's listening, and I said, she comes over and said, I'll do that. And she goes, well, you realize, she had just heard the whole conversation, you know. I said, you realize I got to put my hand in your crotch and lift you up. And she goes, why do you think I ask you? You know? So she was cool, though. You know, she gets a lot of bad press, but she was cool, you know. She was fun.
How much time does something like that take?
Oh, my God. It was brutal, man. It was 3 days of taping for that half-hour show. I mean, it was a long time. A lot of just waiting around, you know. You know, it was.
How did they make the decision to pick? I think it was you, Bagwell. I don't remember who else was.
Yeah, I think Booker T was the other one.
Yeah. How did they make the decision to get you three guys? Was it like a screening, or was it just?
I have no idea.
They just told you you're going to be on. Charm?
Well, they asked me if I wanted to do it. Yeah, so I said, yeah, I'll do it. I actually did that, and I think I went out and did the Jersey and some other show, you know.
What are your memories of your matches with Chris Jericho?
I think I only wrestled him.
It was a couple times.
Yeah. Chris was always cool, you know. I always got along with Chris, you know.
What are your thoughts on the recent behavior of Lex Luger and his troubled times as of late?
Hey, just bad times, you know. But he'll pull out, you know. I think the death of Liz really affected him more than people realize, you know.
We talked a little bit earlier about your the critics say you're hard to work with. What do you say to those people, the critics that say, you know, Scott's really hard to work with?
Yeah, who are the critics? I mean, fuck them, you know. Who are the critics? You know what I mean? That's another reason why I went up to WBO. I did everything they did. Matter of fact, when I went to Vince, I said, listen, man, I've done everything you wanted me to do, and even when it was bad, you know.
Did you like working with the writers, or did you...
Man, they're little weasels, man. They're 5'6", 5'8", trying to tell me what's cool, you know.
They were not even workers.
No, and it was embarrassing. So.
Is there anybody that you still want to work with, you know, in wrestling? Is there any matches, opponents that you would like to see?
I really never really thought about it,
It's
man.
all business now? Or is it
Yeah, well, it's all business. It's always got to be about business, you know. Yeah, it's all about making money, you know, and what's going to draw, you know. I mean, not just to get a paycheck, but also draw, you know, houses, you know. But I'm just interested to see what happened. You know, like you said, I was off for about a year and a half, you know, not doing nothing, you know, on the couch for like 6 months in a cast, you know. So you got to realize I'm 6 matches back into wrestling again, you know, still fresh, you know. Kind of weird, you know.
Did you like working with Rob Van Dam?
He's very talented, you know. But he was another guy that, you know, they shit on up there, you know. I mean, he's very talented, but, you know, for whatever reason, I didn't think he took the business serious, you know. For whatever reason, you know. But that was their mindset, you know. They, like I said, you know, they can bury anybody for whatever reason, you know. And that was their reason for not pushing Rob Van Dam, you know, because he did a lot of amazing stuff, you know. And he was over too, I thought, you know. And if they would have gave him something, he could have been even more. But you know, when I tell you guys that, you know, there's so many ways you can bury somebody, it's, you know, there's different ways, man. There's some evil motherfuckers in this business, you know.
A while back, I was trying to schedule one of these interviews with you, and one of the sources I used was your brother, trying to get to you, and he didn't seem to, I don't know the details of it, but he didn't seem to insinuate that he had a lot of contact with you. Has wrestling driven you and your brother apart? Are you still close to him?
No, we live, you know, 4 miles apart, you know. So, but you know, it's like him. We're busy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What are your thoughts on JBL? He's got a bad rep for, I guess, stiffing some younger guys when they first come into the company.
Yeah, but that, you know, I don't know. He was on SmackDown, you know, but that, you know.
Nature of the business?
Well, you got, you know, the only experience I can relate to is, you know, Chuck Plumbo. He tried the same thing with Chuck Plumbo. Chuck Plumbo called him out and he backed down. You know, he's one of those guys that will pick on it until you stand up, but he backed down right in front of the whole locker room, you know.
What exactly happened?
He complained about, well, I think he stiffed him a few times, you know, in the ring, and Chuck got pissed and said, listen, I gave you my body out there. Now I'm not going. Let's go. You know, you see, you know, and he backed down, you know, but.
You ever stiff someone in the ring to make a point with someone?
No, I never, man, I never did that unless, you know, doesn't happen to me, but that never happened, you know. It's like, I mean, that's not the way I am, you know. If I got a problem, I'll say it to you. I'm not going to take a cheap shot. I mean, that's bullshit, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I do it, I'll, you know, this is for, you know, but that never happened, you know. It's unprofessional, man.
Who's the better amateur wrestler, you or your brother?
I did all the records, man.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Do you remember your barbed wire match? It was like way before Memphis. I think you were involved in maybe 1 or 2 barbed wire matches.
Man, I don't remember them. Do you remember them?
I have it on tape.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would I wrestle?
I do not remember who you worked, but it's early on in your career.
Really?
Yeah.
With Dick the Bruiser?
Could have been that territory. It was at
Ohio, Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It must have not too memorable. Who would I wrestle? Do you remember? Really?
Was it like Steve-O or
It might have been.
Steve-O and
Might have been those guys.
Steve-O. Who's
Yeah.
Steve-O?
I remember there was because they made a video of.
No, I mean, who is Steve-O?
I have no idea. It was just an old
Really?
like regional guy from the Midwest.
Oh, that might have been for Dick the Bruiser, I think. Yeah, I think a little bit. Yeah, it was so long ago, man. That was like right out of college. That was in '87, man.
Do you have any funny stories from the road? You just real serious, no funny stories.
No, we had a lot of great times, man.
One that you'd share with us?
Yeah.
It's got to be something with Sting, Lex, and you and your brother.
Yeah, right off the bat, I can't come up with something, but
How would you rate yourself as a worker on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the best?
when I first started, I could do almost anything when I first started, you know. When I hurt my foot, you know, injuries add up, you know. You know, especially with my foot, you know. Well, my back and my foot, you know.
We talked a little bit about it, the tag match with you and Gordy and Williams.
Mhm.
Did you get any heat at all from the New Japan office at all?
No,
Not to job to them or anything like that?
no.
Okay.
But, you know, no. But it just didn't make any sense, you know.
You had any contact with going back to Japan recently?
Have I any interest?
Well, any feelers from them?
Oh, no, I have no interest in going back, you know, to Japan. Pay's not, you know, pay's not there. It just, I talked to a lot of people that are there, and it's like, it's different, you know. Especially with Inoki trying to get more involved with K1, and, you know, it's not anything I really want to do right now. It's, you know, 21 hours flying, you know.
If tonight was your last match, or I don't even know if you're on the wrestling on the show tonight, but if you did have another match, would you be okay with it?
Yeah, you know, man, I've been doing it a long time, you know.
What else would you be doing if you weren't wrestling?
I don't know. I have no idea.
So what do you do in your spare time other than hitting the gym?
I just hang out, you know. Hang out with my boys.
One thing a lot of people and a lot of critics say, what's wrong with wrestling today, is a lot of guys have the same look, you know, big guys, and there's not a lot of variety. What are your feelings on that? Because you're in the class of, you know, the big guy.
Well, there's only, like, who do you think is a big guy? I mean,
a lot of
Batista.
guys have the same looks.
Oh, Batista. There's only Batista. Who's the other one? You know.
Seems like all the new guys that they're signing the contracts in like a Randy Orton type and all that.
Yeah, but
Cookie cutter.
Yeah. Well, I think because, you know, it's, you know, there's so much, you know, emphasis put on your body now that, and I think America's so more aware of why you're fat, you know. It's because you eat too much, or you eat too much carbohydrates, or you don't exercise, you know. Before, you know, back in wrestling, you could be fat, you know. Because, you know, even though America's the most obese country there is, people still want to see somebody that, you know, there's obsession with, you know, the body, you know. It was rightfully so. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch somebody fat on, you know, wrestling, you know. Because because you don't see it in sports in general. I mean, you ever see very many fat athletes? I mean, there's zero in basketball, zero in baseball unless you're a pitcher, but they're still in pretty good shape, you know. So it's not, you know, it's reflective of society, you know.
I was going to ask you, think it hurts the, I guess the audience because they can't relate to some of the characters?
Well, they can't relate to the characters because there's you've got these weasels in the back all writing interviews out for everybody. They got the same mind writing interviews for the same type of, same different characters, you know. There's going to be definitely a crossover. You know what I mean? That's what the cookie cutter is. It's like, besides the body, it's like you got these same morons in the back writing all the interviews and telling you exactly what to say, you know. Before it was like different, you know. You had Orndorff, you had Piper, you had all these other guys come up with their own, you know, like in Jesse Ventura and, you know, superstar Billy Graham come up with their own unique style. Their own, you know, the way of saying something, and it's not like that anymore. I mean, I know that firsthand, you know, from some idiot telling me what to say and how to say it, you know. And I had to practice it before I went out. I mean, it was a joke.
Do you think Vince is making a mistake by signing all these younger guys in? And there's a lot of guys on the shelf like Goldberg, yourself, Sting, Luger, all these guys. Do you think those kind of veterans, like a lot of the WCW veterans, could make an impact in WWE now?
Yeah, why wouldn't we make it? We beat them.
It's a mistake for Vince not to bring these guys back?
Well, first off, I don't think a lot of people would come back, you know. You know, but I mean, he had the opportunity. You know, I mean, he had to realize. You know, we beat him for 82 weeks straight. There was, you know, there was a market for us. You know, and Vince didn't pick up that market. They didn't pick up the audience from WCW. You know, it's just a fact. You know, it's nothing personal, but some people like WCW, some people like the WWE. You know, it's like when he made a mistake thinking that he was. You know, there's a problem when he wanted to rule the world. He got it, and you know, wrestling's fucked for it.
Just seems like there's a whole bunch of guys that TNA's using a few of them. WWE's not using. There's like a whole bunch of other guys that could make this company.
Right.
Do you think that Vince basically didn't bring the whole WCW feud right away in because, you know, he's been all these years battling WCW and he didn't want to put the guys over? And of course,
Oh, definitely,
if
man.
you brought in the whole guys, you know, the whole guys at once, and he'd have to job them basically, and you know.
Exactly what he did. You know, Vince took it personal, man, and he didn't want nobody getting over from WCW.
But as a
I'm
business,
a perfect example of that. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Goldberg's a perfect example. We're all perfect example, you know, of why he didn't want WCW to succeed, you know.
but as a business standpoint, it would have been smarter to keep the two companies separate, and you would
Oh,
have
yeah,
once a year maybe done a World Series or something
yeah.
like that of wrestling.
Oh, without a doubt, you know. But that's, you know, like I said, he wanted to rule the world.
Yes or no answer. Do you think if NWO, like the real NWO, made a comeback in WWE, that would draw like long term?
They did that.
But I mean, like the real one would.
Yeah, if you let somebody else do it, you know what I mean? Keep Stephanie away, keep Hunter away, keep Vince away, it would work. But they won't do that.
What is Sting's mindset these days as far as the business? Has he pretty much given up?
I think so. You know, I haven't talked to him in a while, but I think you know.
What wrestlers do you keep in contact with?
No, not a whole lot. I never did when I was. You know, Chuck Palumbo and let's see, a couple other guys, but.
Would you have any interest ever? Go ahead.
No, I talked to Sting on a few occasions. I talked to Lex, you know, Jeff, but you know, I have other things to do, you know.
You're pretty outspoken on ideas and stuff like that. Did you ever give any thought of being part of a creative team, or is that you're not ready for that yet? You still want to work in the ring?
What would I be a part of the creative team for? Vince?
No, I'm
You
just saying.
fucking kidding me?
Exactly.
You know, no,
Not in your forte.
I don't think so, you know, but I'm not gonna, you know, go work for somebody just for the sake of working, you know.
Right.
And so, I mean, because I don't need to, you know. But,
I guess in closing, is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you never had a chance to say?
no, you know, I just appreciate it, you know. I think they appreciated what I did, you know. They knew I busted my ass every time I got in the ring, you know. And when I was a babyface, you know, I did that. And when I was a heel, I tried to be the biggest prick there was to make them hate me, you know. A lot of guys can't do that, you know, or don't want to do that, you know. I love being booed, you know. I'd rather be a bad guy than a good guy, you know. So,
I was going to ask you that.
you know, without a doubt, hands down, you know, I can make people hate me more than I can make them like me, you know. But that was my personality, you know. So, but you know, I think that comes across on TV too, you know. So, because a lot of them legitimately thought I was off my rock, or you know. So.
One last thing, I should have closed it right there.
I can edit it.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on when they put the belt on David Arquette and stuff like that? You think that was good for the business
No,
or bad for the business?
are you fucking kidding me? That was the biggest piece of shit I fucking ever was involved with. You know, it was bullshit. You know, it's all because of that stupid fucking movie. You know that nobody even watched. You know, it was. You ever seen the movie?
It was the shits.
It's fucking horrible, and it's all you know, DDP with trying to, bring that bullshit in. It was the worst thing that ever fucking happened. I mean, it was a joke. He was a B-rate actor to begin with, you know.
Right.
It's not like he was putting on Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, you know. And that's still one that made a difference, you know. It's like, it was a joke, man.
Did a lot of the boys get hot because here you guys are legit athletes, you know, trying to make the title mean something, and then they put it on this guy just for,
Well, I don't think
Not ratings, but you know.
I don't think anybody got, you know, like, I think everybody was disgusted, and I think everybody was saying, we're saying, what the fuck, you know, it's like, and I think, you know, I think everybody realized
The writing was on the wall.
this place is fucked up more than we thought it was, you know, and it was, I mean, I criticized it from day one, you know, I don't give a fuck, you know, I speak my mind when, you know, and it was bullshit, you know. I think they did a, matter of fact, WCW did a interview with me after that happened. I said basically the same shit, you know.
Right.
I mean, because it was brutal, man. I mean, and the guy meant nothing. He still means nothing. You know, but that was, you know, that was Russo. You know, that was Russo. He had, you know, he could have 20 ideas and one of them be good, you know. In that time, nobody had control of him, you know. And Eric was gone at that, yeah.
Right. In WWF, didn't Vince have final say pretty much over his stuff?
Well, that was the deal, yeah.
Right.
He had 20 ideas, and Vince probably let him use one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, the guy had some good stuff, but you got to dissect the good parts. And when he was in WCW, there was nobody doing that, you know.
Last question. Did you ever see the political struggle between Kevin Nash and Scott Hall with Eric Bischoff, and then Hogan's side against?
Oh yeah. Yeah, all the time, man. It was, yeah, they, you know, like I said, that's one of the things with the NWO. They split them there, you know.
Whose side were you on?
What do you mean?
What clique did you go, did you fall in your own clique, or did you hang with Nash and Hall, or
well, you know, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were the cool ones. And Hogan, you know. I mean, I remember when Hogan and Nash were going to face off, and I don't know if you guys remember. And he says, well, before I talk to you, you got to take your wife's glasses off, you know. You guys remember that? It was the funniest shit because in the next segment, like at the end of the show, he came out with with no glasses on, so you knew you got him, you know what I mean? But it was a no-win situation for Kevin Nash because, like I said before, you know, Hogan had Bischoff's ear, you know.
Did you ever meet Jim Hellwig at all, Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, I met Jim. Actually, I met Jim when he was in the UWF in Oklahoma, you know.
What are your thoughts on Mr. Warrior?
That's his name now, right? Warrior?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that changes their name to Warrior is fucked up, you know? Are you kidding me? It's like Nikita Koloff changed his name to Nikita Koloff.
Right.
I mean, how fucked up have you got to be to do that, you know? But, I don't know. He's definitely, I think he's fried a few brains. So, because he came down to WCW, you know, at the end was when Hogan had to beat him back, you know. It was like,
He was. You think that's one of the main reasons because he had to get his victory back from WrestleMania 6?
Probably, you know, because, I mean, it was horrible, you know.
Right.
Who knows, you know.